Welcome back to the Native Speaker Experience. Here we're going to look at cause and effect and how to build sentences with cause and effect. So you can have your cause or your action over here at the start, then you can have your cause and effect link phrase in the middle, and then your effect or your result over here on the right. When you're building the sentence, a possible structure could be this subject, gerund, subject phrase, object, gerund, object phrase. Gerund is just a noun that uses a verb ing structure, but it's a noun, not a verb. So for example, swimming is a wonderful sport. Boxing is a very physical sport. Those words are nouns, but they use this verb ing structure. If it was a verb, it would be called a present participle. But here we're using it as a noun, so we're going to call it a gerund. Then we're going to have some link words here in the middle, so we can say can result in, can lead to, can contribute to. Why am I using can here? Well, it's a modal verb and it makes your sentence sound less absolute. So for business writing and for academic writing especially, this can suit this a little bit more because you're not making an absolute generalization. You may be open to correction, and this leaves your sentence hard to criticize then. The other benefit of can here, of course, is that it insulates you from subject-verb agreement mistakes. That's where students might say result in when they should say results in, or leads to when they should say lead to, and vice versa. And now after can, you don't have to make any changes, you don't have to worry about it. So can result in, can lead to, can contribute to. Okay? Can play a major role in. Can play a major role in. This word, you need to be careful, especially our European cousins. This word is often mispronounced by our European cousins because there may be a similar word in your language, for example in Spanish, Portuguese, French and Italian, and you may have your own pronunciation of this. It's May, like the month of May, March, April, May, and ger, like the woman's name Geraldine, okay, or gerund, okay. So major, so can play a major role in. So not mayor, not mayor, not mayor, nothing like that. Can play a major role in. Can be a key factor in. Can be a key factor in. Can be a key factor in. One thing that I'd say about the pronunciation of factor is that students tend to pronounce this A almost like an O or a U, and it can sound like a swear word. So try and make it a more nasal sound. Factor, can be a key factor in. A lot of students tend to say can be a key factor in, and it sounds a bit awkward and a bit close to a famous swear word, so you don't want to say that. Next one, can be a significant contributing factor to. 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 So again, European cousins, be careful. It's not significant, it's significant. You can pause this recording at any stage and then just practice the pronunciation that I'm using there. Significant. And over here, contributing. You'll notice we don't say contributing. Okay, it's not like that. It's kin. So we don't say con. All right, it's kin. Like we said here earlier, can is often pronounced as kun as well when there's another word after it. If there's a full stop, you say yes, we can. But if there's another word after it, it'd be can result in, can lead to, can contribute to, can play a major role in. So contribute to, we don't pronounce the O very strongly. It's contribute to. And here, contributing. Can be a significant contributing factor to. Can be a significant contributing factor to. Can be a significant contributing factor to. Okay. Can have an extremely significant impact on. Can have an extremely significant impact on. And you can see here that we've given a phonetic spelling of significant again. Significant, signifi. The stress is on niffy. Significant, significant. Okay. Can have an extremely significant impact on. Can have an X, can have an X, can have an X, can have an extremely, can have an extremely, can have an extremely significant, significant, can have an extremely significant, can have an extremely significant, can have an extremely significant impact on. Impact on. Ladies and gentlemen, always on. Be careful with that. Students often use other prepositions here. And we're going to look at three brothers: impact, effect, and influence. Here we've said can have an extremely significant impact on. That means it's important. Is it positive or negative? We don't know. Here we're using the negative words: negative, adverse, damaging, and harmful. And these would be my top choice for you. Negative, adverse, damaging, harmful. They're the top four words for bad effect that you can use. Negative being number one, then adverse, damaging, and harmful. They would be the more robust examples. Can have a hugely negative effect on. Can have a hugely adverse effect on. Can have a hugely damaging effect on. Can have a hugely harmful effect on. Again, on for these three brothers: impact, effect, and influence. Can have a really positive influence on. So here we have the bad ones, now the good ones: positive and beneficial. Beneficial. Fish, like it swims in the ocean, notficial. Don't say that. A lot of our European cousins sayficial. So can have a really positive influence on, or can have a really beneficial influence on. So there are a nice list of cause and effect links if you're writing an essay, if you're in an exam, if you're writing a report, an assignment, a thesis. These words will get you through the night. You'll be able to use these as a selection of words over and over again. Are they the only ones? No, there are others, of course, but these are some of the more common ones that you'll see native speakers using in presentations, discussions, meetings, interviews, and in essays, emails, tests, exams, assignments, projects, all of those kind of things. So let's have a look over here. We've got the subject, gerund, subject phrase, and we've also got the object, gerund, object phrase. Let's look at how to build a sentence here. So our first sentence: employers not using proper accountancy software can result in staff not being paid properly at the end of each month. So I've put not here in brackets to remind us that the not is optional depending on whether you want to use a negative or positive sentence. So that's not can be put in here. Students often don't know how to make this sentence negative. It's very simple. Here in the gerund, this verb ing structure, just put not in here in front of it, between that and the subject, or just in front of the gerund, and Bob's your uncle, you're good to go. So employers not using proper accountancy software can result in staff not being paid properly at the end of each month. Now, these three columns in each section, you can use all three, but sometimes you may not need to use all three. So we'll show you how to use all three, but a lot of the examples I'm going to show you here will be pared down. There'll be a number of columns not used also, just for you to see how that's done. Nurses failing to sanitize their hands can lead to patients contracting an infection. When you get a sickness from outside your body, you contract it. You can contract an infection. So you could contract COVID, for example. So nurses failing to sanitize their hands can lead to patients contracting an infection. Now, here's an example where I didn't start the sentence at the subject. I started it at not. Not having a third level education can contribute to people becoming stuck in a vicious circle of poverty. So if you have no education, you can't get a better job and you can't get out of poverty. But you can't get an education because you're poor. We call that a vicious circle. Sometimes you'll see it's also called a vicious cycle. Cycle or circle can both be used here. Next sentence: Being. So here we can see how we started the sentence with the verb, and it's a positive here, no not in front of it. Being a good communicator can play a major role in some salespeople doing well in business. Okay, and then you can see how the structure is so easy to build, and students often find this difficult to do. But when you see this 3-step process, one cause and effect link, another 3-step process, it's easy peasy Japanesey, not hard to do at all. Children learning to play team games can be a key factor in them not feeling isolated in adulthood. So if we said children over here, if the result is on the children, then you'll just use the pronoun them, and that'll be fine. Okay, so here we used all columns. All right, this one was positive. Children learning to play team games can be a key factor in them not feeling isolated in adulthood. Now, here I've done the same sentence but in a different way, just to show you that it's flexible. You don't always have to put the children here if you don't want to. If you say, I prefer to start with the verb ing, then that's no problem. So learning to play team games. So here you can see this gerund could be 2 verbs together, learning and play, with 2 in the middle. Okay, so learning to play team games can be a significant contributing factor to children not feeling isolated later in life. So I did it a slightly different way here. I took the children from over here, I didn't need them, and then I put it in here. So they're quite happy to have the subject become the object in the sentence. And here, instead of saying adulthood, I said later in life. I wanted to be flexible. Let's look at one more example, and here I cut out the subject and the gerund, and I said team games can have an extremely significant impact on children feeling less isolated later in life. So I didn't say not feeling, maybe they'd feel a little isolated but less so. Okay, so less isolated later in life. Now, what are the benefits of using the full range? Well, sometimes you might be asked to focus on something very specific. You might want to speak about the relationship between employers and staff, the relationship or the cause and effect relationship between nurses and patients. So you might want to mention both. And in some cases you might say, well, that's not necessary. I'm just going to go with team games can have an extremely significant impact on children. And you know what? If you wanted to, you could stop there. But you're not developing your sentence enough. So by using more of the columns, you're developing your sentence more, and it's very good. Parents being overly involved in their children's Facebook usage. So overly is a lovely adverb that means too much. If you're doing something too much, we used it with usually a past participle or an adjective. So for example, being overly careful, being overly generous. That means you're too generous and it's a problem. So parents being overly involved in. Don't forget, involved is married to the preposition in. Being overly involved in their children's Facebook usage can have a hugely negative, adverse, damaging, harmful effect on their teens' social lives. So when kids are 16 or 17, they don't want mom and dad, making comments on their Facebook page. They'll be saying, Mom! So, that's what that sentence means. And then teens not eating sugary foods can have a really positive or beneficial influence. And here I dropped the object out of the sentence, okay, on keeping their skin blemish free. Blemish are these little things on your skin that you don't like, and it's a general word that can refer to pimples, acne, eczema. Anything that's a blemish is like a mark that makes it look less healthy and vibrant. So there you see a very easy to understand table that can help you talk more clearly and build nicer sentences when you're talking about cause and effect. And all you have to do now is get some practice. Be careful about the prepositions. Make sure you get them right. It can result in, lead to, contribute to, play a major role in, be a key factor in, but be a significant contributing factor to, can have an extremely significant impact on, effect on, influence on. One of the things we've mentioned in a lot of our lessons online with some of our groups is that impact, these three brothers, impact, effect and influence. Impact is the hard-hitting guy. This is the Conor McGregor of the group, okay? Influence is the smooth talker, the diplomat, and effect is somewhere in the middle, all right? Also, don't forget the verbs. It's play a major role, not be a major role. That's a common mistake. It's be a key factor, not play a key factor. It's be a significant contributing factor, not play, okay? And it's have an extremely significant impact, effect, and influence. Look, have, influence, have, effect, have, impact. So make sure you get the verbs right as well. And that's all there is to it. So all you have to do now is get some practice. That's all from me. The very best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.